Hi! So, AEW Dynamite was last night. Obviously, I was there. I'm in the B&B, so I'm not going to be as loud as usual. But I thought to do the review of the actual show, and then I'll do a video later today, get that out tomorrow or whatever, about my experience, because there's some good stuff. But yeah, that makes sense. Let's get into it. So, our first thing to start off was Will Ospreay with his promo. Now, Ospreay come out, and obviously, because it's in Glasgow, he's going to get a big overreaction. There was some boos, I will say that. There definitely was some boos, but it definitely was a big reaction. And he starts doing his whole British stand-up comedy stuff. It was like, I'm back home, I've missed the Tesco meal deal. Mention the things, the crowd starts cheering Monster Munch, stuff like that. And then as it continues, like, you see someone in the Greg's jumper, it's like, that's cool, you know, he starts going off on Greg's again. But it's one of them. The promo itself, after he gets into Kenny, and he's like, he shows Kenny the respect, because people cheer Kenny, myself included, and he continues saying, I've got respect, but all that respect went out the window once you mention my boy. And then, you know, he starts listing off, like, you know, the reasons he's got to bring it home. He starts paying tribute to a bunch of wrestlers from the British Indies and just the British scene, which I really liked. Even Glasgow too, I thought that was really cool. But as he continues to say, you know, you saying you want to give my boy a new hero. I'm gonna teach him the heroes are normal men that can be taken down. Kenny isn't there, which was a choice. I was not happy about that. I understand, you know, heel, but it's the go home for AEW All In. Kenny Omega should be there. I mean, I don't think that's the debate. He should be there, at least in some form. But the passionate promo, he starts, like, there's a moment where he gets a bit emotional. And then he starts going, you know, I've got to bring it home, which I think is a bit silly, because I don't think they understand. I don't think anyone outside of England understands the bring it home thing means, because England's the home of football. England's I mean, Ospreay's trying to say it's the home of wrestling, so he's trying to bring it home, I guess, but he's really putting over British wrestling, which is cool. But as he continues, he starts getting really passionate about it, saying, you know, I'm going to teach him, I'm going to bring it home for everyone, all the promises, my mum, my dad, my granddad, and most importantly, my boy. And he goes, because you don't mess with a man who's messing with his boy. And then he goes, here we fucking go. And he drops the mic. Great promo. Again, it's a massive issue for me that Kenny isn't there. Obviously, bias, I do get that. But for me, Kenny Omega should be there, so whatever. But the promo by Ospreay in a British crowd, always going to be over there, but it's really good. It's a really passionate promo. Great way to set up All In. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. After this, we do get our first Continental Cup match. We get Jon Moxley versus Claudio Castagnoli in, obviously, the Death Riders going against each other yet again. The match was solid. It was really good. I would possibly say it was my match of the night. I would. I loved the way they made Claudio look. I really thought they made Claudio look absolutely incredible. I think they made him look really strong. Obviously, Moxley very scrappy. I love how they didn't hold anything back. I was surprised there was no colour. I thought there was going to be a blood or a bit of a bleed or two. But I love how Moxley, like, Claudio controls him, but then Moxley's relying on these reversals. There's a moment where Moxley gets like 2 paradigm shifts and a King Kong lariat. Like, he gets a bunch of the finishes in the way, and Claudio kicks out with 1. It was fucking nuts. Obviously, being there, it was really cool. My seats were obviously really good, so I've probably shown the footage I'm using. But Moxley and Claudio's entrance walked right past me, like literally on front row, right past me. And then Moxley walked around us, but it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, that entrance. The match itself, again, I think it's excellent. I think it's a really good match, obviously. I do think how they made Moxley on the back foot and let Claudio control was kind of a compensation. I don't know. The thing is with the Death Riders, they made Claudio look really strong, and I think this is the strongest Claudio's looked since they were teasing the turn. And I feel like that's definitely a positive. I don't know, they didn't tease nothing after it. They didn't like show like, oh, they're not friends or nothing. They show, you know, they were cool. I like how Moxley slaps Claudio in the face. Like, Moxley doesn't treat Claudio any different. The finish was something I didn't expect. The finish is a bulldog choke, and I think that's really cool. I do. I just think how striking nature. There's a moment where Claudio does a giant swing by Moxley's neck. That was fucking nuts. That was insane. And then he does Alien on the outside by the barriers. That was really cool. it was just a lot of good shit. It really was. It was a really good match. It flew by, especially, again, it's different watching it on screen. I haven't went back and watched them back yet. I need to do that. I'll probably do that today. But, and talk about the review here, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a real good match. I thought it was a great way to set up the Continental Cup, the final. And what was funny is they didn't have the cup out straight away, so they were, like, in the middle of the match, they're walking past us, trying to put it up. That was pretty funny. But, yeah, so the match itself was great. I thought the finish with with a Bulldog choke on Moxley getting the win. Claudio fades, which I thought was cool. I didn't want Claudio to tap, he faded. That's really different, and I like that. And Moxley gets the win. So Moxley's in the final at Wembley. Shock to defend his AEW Continental title and for the Continental Cup. I thought this match was probably match of the night. I think it was excellent. I thought again, Claudio here looks like an absolute demon, as he should. It's the best he's looked in a while. I was really happy with it. And yeah, Moxley in the final. And it gives Claudio something to do, which I think I know what they're doing. But again, I don't want to say. So after this, we do get a trios match. We get Cope, Adam Copeland, and the Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and they're facing the Don Callis family. They have Brian Cage, Jake Doyle, and Rocky Romero. This match was pretty good. It was okay. It was a lot of just basic. It's a Bucks match. It's what you expect. I do like how Copeland is very much the center of it. You know, he's very much the Bucks will do a lot of the work, and then Cope's going to get some big blows. There's a great hot tag with Cope, definitely. Rocky Romero's selling for Copeland specifically is really well done. I really like that. And Brian Cage and Jake Doyle, nice to see them. You know, they get a few what's the words? They get a few good reactions from the crowd. I do like I don't like Don Callis wasn't on there. I was upset about that. Yeah, I'm a big Don Callis guy. But as the actual match, I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything insane. It was just pretty solid. It was a bit weird because obviously we didn't know anything about them two teaming, but obviously no Christian there. Copeland's entrance, obviously cool, etc. But the match is won, obviously, by Copeland and the Bucks. There is a moment where the Bucks nearly super kick Copeland, which I thought was going to happen. They don't. They stutter it, and it looks like they're about to get beat, but they managed to get the win via the Copeland spear, and obviously, you know, the Bucks helping them take it out. Now, as soon as they win, Christian's music hits, and then when Christian walks out and he's got the mic and he goes, the Bucks, you know, basically now that all the goody two shoes, Scotland, keep your mouth while I conduct my business. So cool. The crowd was constantly chanting Christian, will you be my dad? That chant from Forbidden Door, which I don't mind, but if he's trying to cut a promo, I want to hear the promo, especially from Christian. But as the promo continues, he goes up to the Bucks and goes, you know, last week, etc. You super kicked me, and they start going, and he starts, you know, rubbing in, saying, you think they, you know, you'll know the difference between on Sunday legendary and you know, what's the word? Legendary and greatness and legendary. I don't know. And then Matt Jackson gets the mic and goes, last week we accidentally super kicked you, but the way you're talking, if you continue like that, we're going to do it. And you say they name matches and pay-per-views after you. Have they ever made a company after you? Which I thought was a really cool line. And then as it continues, they start fronting each other. And Copeland's trying to go like, hey, and Nick Jackson like pushes him off. And then Christian low blows Matt. Then Matt gives a super kick to Christian. And, well, no, Nick gives a super kick to Christian. And then Copeland has to spear Nick. And Nick does, and he does, and he's fuming, he's going, fuck. And he didn't want to do it. You could tell he didn't want to do it. Christian's like looking at him like, whoa. And it's like, I didn't really realise he didn't want to do it. More so, I thought it was like he's feeling that temptation to become like, you know, how heel Edge is his best work. And I think he didn't want to do that. But obviously, you know what I mean, different way. At the end, Christian raises his belt, but Copeland doesn't. He looks like beside himself. It's like shit. So then, and he's like, is Christian having some play on him? I don't know. Well, that was it really. Christian's segment and promo was the main thing. That was the best thing about this. And obviously really good. It's finally getting a good blow to blow with the Bucks now. I would have had this happen a few weeks ago. I think that made sense. I feel like the Bucks and Copeland, it's like, I think you could have had a lot of venom going into this, but now that you're just doing it on the go home, which makes sense, I'm not against that, it's just I think it would have been better if you did it the other way. But again, I think that might just be me being a bit picky. But yeah, pretty okay match. Nice to see some of the Don Callis family members. But yeah, the promo after it with Christian and the Bucks and Cope, pretty good. And obviously, they're going into Wembley. It's going to be hell. After this, we get a small backstage segment that we got to see. It was Willow supposed to come out for his segment, but then it shows Mercedes attacking her, calling her a dumb bitch, stuff like that, saying, hey, you know, bite that's about just continuing that stuff. Good work for Mercedes and Willow, as you expect. But yeah, Mercedes is attacking her backstage yet again, which is still cool. I'm still happy with that, but yeah, that's what they done. After this, we get a small backstage segment with Don Callis and Mark Davis. And Mark, he's just basically confirming Mark Davis will be in the gauntlet for the Casino Gauntlet for the AEW World Championship, and then confirms a match on Collision, which is a trios match, which obviously I got to see, but I won't talk about that yet. But he confirms the match, which was pretty cool. It's Ciampa, Nick Wayne, and Mark Davis versus oh, unless that wasn't him, I don't know, whatever. Mark Davis in the Casino Gauntlet. That's basically it. After this, we get our MJF and Andrade segment. And what basically happens is MJF plays Andrade's music, then MJF comes out and he's going, walking out going, beautiful island, and starts going on, going off on one. And what was funny about this promo was he starts talking about, like, you know, oh, we don't, who gives a shit, right? You're all the same type. And what he does is he goes, so I can do what Andrade does. He goes mad and Drew, but he goes, I can do what he does. You know, I could, you know, I've got to wear the cool clothes, check, wear fake jewelry, takes his ring off, check. And then he goes, I can get pictures with, you know, I can get pictures with beautiful ladies. He goes, well, I can, but not here. Scotland's not got the greatest. And then he goes up to this random worker. I think I recognised her. And he goes, he goes, come on, Scotland, like, come on, like, in America, this is like a 4, but in Scotland, that's a 10, that's great, and she's snarling him. But at this point, there's a guy next to him, MJF just going like that right to his face, and Max is trying to, like, you could tell it was close to making him break, because it's right to his face, and he keeps, like, stalling, it's hilarious. And he goes, where's Andrade, where is he? He's not even here. And then Andrade walks up behind the girl, and she goes, he goes, how you know, and starts brawling with MJF. They eventually get into the ring, and, you know, he chases him down, and then he takes his, jacket off and reveals he's got a new shirt. But yeah, pretty simple build for the Casino Gauntlet. Obviously, I'm happy with these two. I'm happy with this. This is one of my favorites. I'm very much liking this rivalry. I've been liking it for a while. Big proponent of it. This was really fun. Yeah, it was a real fun segment with MJF throwing the gum and everything. It was really good. After this, we do get our other semi-final for the Continental Cup. We get Nigel McGuinness versus Kyle O'Reilly. This was really cool. Obviously, big fan of this match. Now, I do think, one, I love how, as a technical match, obviously, it's great. I love how they portrayed Kyle as a bit more aggressive than usual. He looks like he's completely losing patience throughout the match, which is really well done. He obviously does target the ankle of McGuinness, and he does show his technical prowess. He's got a massive black eye, and I think that's from the, I've got to assume it's from the Cassidy match, but still, it was really just wild to see. Nigel here has got some great character work. Like, there's a moment where he just smacks him, and he's like, there's a moment where they're doing like this leg lock, and he just walks away, like stuff like that. He's very cheeky in this one, which is obviously fun to see. It's a great match. It's hard to kind of break down because it's technical. It's a lot of ankle picking. It's like McGuinness's ankle. Obviously, the injury is really getting targeted, and you've got McGuinness targeting Kyle's arm and shoulder, which I don't know what the reason with that is. I think that's just throughout the match. It's a great match. It really is. The crowd would really the crowd wasn't into it as much as what they should have been, admittedly, because I think technical wrestling is very hard for a neutral crowd. From experience, there was not a lot of people who were familiar with AEW. There was a lot of people like, oh, I'm just coming because it's in Glasgow, I want to see what it's like. I watch WWE, which is cool. I like that, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't really know what you're getting into with this match, but I'm happy that they're at least trying AEW. It is cool. It is cool. It's a very cool match. It's one of those matches where, even though my seats were as good as they were, I do think this might have been better watching it be back, and I still might. I do love they constantly tease the Tower of London, the lariat, doing the lean. Even Kyle does it, which was really good. But when Nigel hits that lariat, it was brilliant. It was so well done. And then he gets a kick out. Kyle gets a kick out, but then Nigel instantly goes into the arm lock. He holds it up. It's weird. It's really well done. But and Kyle taps. I didn't think Kyle should have tapped. I feel like it should have been a pin, maybe. I think Kyle tapping I don't know, it just doesn't seem... I think what you've done with Kyle O'Reilly is you've built him with this Moxley stuff, which is great. Obviously, I'm a big fan of it. You know, the Defiance, the Moxley with the Bulldog, and then obviously making Moxley tap. I feel like Kyle O'Reilly tapping kind of... I don't know, I just feel like that shouldn't be a thing. If Kyle O'Reilly's getting choked Bulldog by Jon Moxley, he's doing the middle finger to Jon Moxley covered in blood, which is one of the coolest things ever, to then... you know, tap out. So I'm not trying to diminish Nigel McGuinness, but still, it just feels a bit weird to me. But again, could be just being picky. But as an actual match, I thought it was excellent. I do want to watch this one back. Obviously, it's technical. I do love watching a technical match. But yeah, I thought this match was great. Nigel obviously wins, making Kyle tap. So that means we do get Nigel McGuinness versus Kyle O'Reilly in Wembley. Kyle O'Reilly versus not Jon Moxley for the Continental Cup. I don't know why people didn't think we were getting this. You have Nigel McGuinness in a tournament. It's obviously going to happen. But I thought it was excellent. I thought it was really well done. I'm looking forward to that match a lot. I really am. But yes, I think this match was stellar. It wasn't as good as the Moxley and Claudio one, but this match, from what I could see anyway, you know, a lot of mat work, still really, really good. I really enjoyed it. And come on, Nigel. Obviously, we love the Nigel one. Come on. After this, we get Chris Jericho backstage, and he's going Glasgow, Scotland. I'm gonna be there on Collision, and I was like, is that a threat? But he confirms the trios match, and he's talking about he's gonna be teaming up with Speedball and Commander to take on Ciampa and Nick Wayne and Mark Davis, which was obviously a thing. It's okay, you know, I watched the match anyway, so we'll talk about that in the Collision video. But yes, I thought this was pretty okay. It wasn't insane, but yeah, Jericho being on screen, the crowd are over for Jericho, by the way. I love the guy. It's insane. Again, a lot of WWE fans, but they adore Jericho. It was a big reaction even when he just popped on the screen. Really cool. After this, we get our women's match, which is a trios match. It's between Persephone and the Divine Dominion, Bayne and Lena Kross, versus the Brawling Birds, Jamie Hayter, Alex Windsor, and Maya Wales. This was pretty cool. I didn't expect to see this. I do think I was kind of happy with Maya Wales getting a bit of a reaction. She didn't get a massive one, but she got one that I was happy with. What I did like, so full transparency, I went to the toilet during this match. This was a toilet break, and I had to get some food. Bro, I hadn't eaten at this point from 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm a fat boy. I need to eat. I need my nutrients. And that was, at that point, like 8 o'clock. Like, past 8 o'clock. I needed to eat. I had to. But it was a pretty decent match from what I got. I watched this one back, just on the highlights, admittedly. So, what I did like, the main thing, was, I liked Maya Wales stunner. I thought that was actually pretty cool. She'd done like a little off-the-rope stunner, which I thought was pretty neat. And what also she did, what was it? It was like a strike. I think she'd done like this specific striking thing with Megan and obviously Persephone. But it was really good. It was just, Maya looked great. She looks more and more confident. I do like it. Obviously Divine Dominion and Brawling Birds look pretty good. I do like that. The finish, didn't expect to see Persephone. Persephone's character work, I will say, is great. She's got such great character work with the crowd. You don't realise until you're there. But the finish was, so the Brawling Birds and Brawling Birds get like this whole little brawl outside with the Divine Dominion, and then Stephon Smith is distracted. Maya Wales gets hit with the TBS by Persephone, you know, behind the referee's back, gets the pin. That's that. Now, I thought this was going to set up Maya versus Persephone at All In. Apparently, it's setting up the TBS ladder match. They didn't confirm this to us there, so I don't know what's happened. But I do feel like that's something that is, either way, that's cool. They need to get they need to get a lot of women on the card. The ladder match makes sense. I'll have a look in a bit. But yes, I thought this was pretty neat. Happy with it. Pretty decent match. Probably whatever. You know, I need to rewatch it specifically, but I'm not really a fan of the Divine Dominion, but I do like Brawling Birds, Maya Wales, and Persephone, so I probably will watch it. But yeah, nice to see them all on the show. That was my thing, genuinely. I'm just glad to see them there. After this, we do get our main event. We get Jungle Jack Perry versus Swerve Strickland. I love this match. I thought this match was absolutely great. I really did. I'm a big fan of, obviously, Jack Perry being a babyface. I've been a big fan of his run. And just in general, as a singles competitor, I think he's very good. And I like the fact that a lot of people are finally realising this. And obviously with Swerve, you know, you're getting from Swerve, he looks great. You forget how good of a high flyer Swerve is. I think he really reminds people how good of a high flyer he is in this match. What I do think is solid about this match is they really get Jack Perry over. It's hard to get him over, and even Swerve's mocking the, you know, the entrance and stuff. But I do think, again, it's another issue I have with Swerve is they do a tiny bit with the finish, but they don't really present Swerve as this most dangerous man in AEW, which he's claiming to be, which I just think you could do a lot more with that. I just think if you're going to start claiming it, do it. But the match itself was excellent. It really does. The two have great chemistry. Again, no blood, which was surprising. But I loved how Jack Perry uses like a good few super kicks. I love how he's doing the dives. He does 3 dives that were really cool. He goes for a lot of aerial work, and then, you know, he's not backing down from Swerve at all, but every time Swerve hits him, it just completely wipes him out. Shock. Swerve's really good. Swerve does some great stomps. He does a beautiful house call, by the way. And then the one I loved the finish. I love the finish. The finish was, so Jack Perry is on the top rope, and he's about to get basically hit by, I think it was a big pressure. And but he reverses it. He goes to reverse up, but fails the Hurricane Rana. But when he does that, a reverse Rana, and then what I loved is Swerve grabs him up by the hair and then hits him with a big pressure, which was really good, and that was the finish. That's the stuff I like. I like that from Swerve because it looks like that extra bit of nastiness, that bit of grit, which I do think you need to be the most dangerous man in AEW. But I do love the match. I thought the match was absolutely excellent. I loved how they presented Perry. I love how Swerve's getting presented. He's still a bit of a tweener here, which he's the heel in the match, but he's always going to be over because, you know, the Who's House Nana's obviously there. But I do love at the start, like, you know, you got Nana going, how do you like it, Jack? All stuff like that, and Jack's, like, really playing that resilience. I think Jack Perry's he's just got that connection. He's hot right now, he's really good, and honestly, I'm glad he's getting that singles run. I do think, honestly, this is the thing, this was a hard call, because if Jack wins, it's kind of like, what do you do with Swerve? But then if you have Swerve win, it's like, what do you do with Jack Perry going forward? That's what I feel like. What do you do with Jack now? Like, after the match, he clearly is upset, and Swerve goes up, gives him a fist bump, and he goes, you know, there's levels to this, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. And he basically says, you're close to that level, but you're not yet. And it's like, well, what do we do with Jack Perry now then? You know what I mean? I thought the Nick Wayne stuff was brilliant. I thought that was a great idea. You know, you got to have him with the Christian Lincoln stuff. But, and maybe Luchasaurus is back before we know it. He doesn't obviously make an appearance here, but that would have been cool. But yeah, honestly, pretty good match. Great main event. I don't think it was this or Moxley's match, which was main match of the night, but this wasn't far off. This was really good. I really enjoyed this match. But yes, Swerve wins. They don't tease nothing with the trio, obviously, for the trios match, so I don't know what's going on there. I think that's what you got to do, surely. But I do think here it kind of leaves Swerve what we're doing. I think if you had Swerve lose, you could have had Swerve go, okay, I need to go and get this gold, and, you know, divert to that trios match. But with Perry, it feels like, I just don't know what you do with Perry now, which I hope they don't stop the singles run, because I've been a fan of that. I think it's been really beneficial for both. I'm being a fan of it. I can't wait for this. Hopefully they don't stop the momentum with Jack Perry, because I think there's still some good stuff there. So yeah, that was everything on Dynamite on Glasgow. I thought the show was solid. I thought there was a bit of low point. I thought the Cope and Bucks match was fun. It wasn't really the greatest in terms of like investment, but the Christian promo after it was. The Brawling Birds and the Van Dominion match was it was okay. Again, from what I've seen, I need to rewatch it properly, but even then it was like the crowd went into it, but that's unfortunately women's wrestling. The Nigel versus Kyle match was great. The Moxley versus Claudio match, there's a lot of great moments. I do think there was a lack of actual. I think Kenny not being there is a huge issue. I don't like that. I understand, you know, you're trying to create heel heat, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. But I do think with Kenny not being there, it does allow Ospreay that over moment. But he's not completely over, because people won't boo Kenny. They won't boo him. So you kind of stuck. But Ospreay being there, I do think it was kind of a missed opportunity to have another promo. I don't know. I feel like, because obviously I know what happens on Collision for the go home, and I feel like they could have had at least someone on the Collision maybe come on today. I don't know. You think you could have had a bit more? I feel like you could have just done one more promo, because the Andrade and the MJF one felt quite short, obviously, and the Ospreay one was the opener, but that was kind of it. And for promos, I feel like you get. This is the thing, when it's taped, you don't really see the backstage promos. You probably do get a lot. We only got to see literally 3 if you include the Mercedes Mone and Willow attack. So that's something. But yeah, I thought the show was good. Obviously, I've got bias from me in there. And yeah, but I thought the show was solid. It wasn't insane. It was a solid little go home. I enjoyed it. So, that is my thoughts on AEW Dynamite for Glasgow. Let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know if you were there. Obviously, I was there, like I said. Hopefully, you enjoyed some of the footage. I will make a separate video on my experience going to Glasgow for Dynamite and etc. So, that'll probably be out in the next day or two. But yeah, what was your match of the night? How do you feel about going into Wembley? And let me know if you were there and what your experience was.